On Tech News Today, it's official. Apple stores are becoming jewelry stores. Plus, Microsoft is prepping a high-end phone to compete with Samsung and Apple. And Amazon is opening 2 brick-and-mortar bookstores. CNET's Lindsey Turrentine, 9 to 5 Mac's Mark Gurman, and the Register's Lester Haines are all here. So stick around. Tech News Today is next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, February 2nd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you can grow and protect all your wealth. Best of all, it's free. And for a limited time, Twit fans could qualify for up to $10,000 on any new account. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/TNT. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. TNT is the New England Patriots of tech news. I'm Mike Elgan, and joining us as co-anchor is CNET Editor-in-Chief Lindsey Turrentine. How are you, Lindsey?
I'm doing great. I am excited to be here as always.
I'm excited too. The first pictures from the upcoming Steve Jobs movie, the new one, starring Michael Fassbender and Seth Rogen as Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. You can guess which one is playing which one. Have emerged on Twitter and elsewhere. And so if you're looking at the video, there they are. And, you know, they don't look anything like the real people. But I have the feeling this is going to be one of the better movies because these are good actors. I'm not sure Seth Rogen can really pull off a genius, that kind of genius.
Well, he can pull off box office. I mean, reality, like if these guys don't look that much like their real life counterparts, then they might as well just be themselves a little bit. And I think that'll get people there, honestly.
I don't think I can remember a Seth Rogen movie that didn't involve smoking a lot of weed. But I guess that fits in this case as well, doesn't it?
I think it does. I think it's pretty accurate.
So no problem. He's going to have to step it up and maybe drop some acid or something like that as well. Well, let's jump into the news. Apple's upcoming 18-karat gold Apple Watch edition is, well, expensive jewelry. And now Mark Gurman reports on 9 to 5 Mac that Apple stores are being turned into jewelry stores. Mark joins us now. How are you, Mark?
Good. How are you? So am I Tom Brady here, or is that you?
We're going to make you Tom Brady. You are MVP of the show today, so congratulations on that.
All right. Appreciate it.
All right. So how are Apple stores being changed to prepare for the coming gold Apple Watch exactly?
Sure. So they're doing 3 things, and they've actually started the process the end of January and early February now. First thing they're doing is they've begun setting up safes and installing safes at the back of Apple stores to store inventory of the 18-karat gold Apple Watch edition, as well as to store the units that they would have on the display floor overnight. And what this does is protects the watches from getting stolen. It's just another added layer of security.
So what you're saying, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but so what you're saying is that these safes are going to actually be the same containers for both when they're storing them at night and also when they're displaying them on the floor, as it were?
No. These are going to be like closed off safes in the back of the store. So like at the end of the day, they'll take them off the tables and put them in the safe, just like a jewelry store would typically do. Also units that are to be sold. So they're unsold inventory that they're waiting for someone to buy.
Got it. So this is really interesting because you're spelling out what a jewelry store / technology store is going to look like. And you've even noted that the Apple employees are getting new shirts for the Apple stores in the near future, if they're not already. What do you think this means for just kind of the future of selling technology? Are we moving away from to go buy a gadget into something else?
Right. Yeah. So as you mentioned, those new shirts actually went live today. They're quite a bit different than the shirts that Apple Store employees previously were told to wear. These ones have collars and are sometimes long sleeves. They have the Apple logo to the above the heart, as you can see there. It's a little more elegant and a little more proper for selling gear that costs upwards of thousands and thousands of dollars. Angela Ahrendts, the new senior VP of retail at Apple, she's the former CEO of Burberry. she's the best person for this role. She sold fashion and she's understanding the Apple technology. And it's a great fusion of the expertise across the whole company to sell technology as fashion. So I think this is what we're going to see Apple move toward even more so in the future.
Only a Silicon Valley company would consider a shirt with a collar to be formal wear, fancy enough to sell expensive jewelry. Now, you wrote that Apple will also be installing special scales for weighing things. What are these scales for?
So they're classic jewelry scales that they'll be able to place the Apple Watch on and check how much gold. They will know the weight that they're supposed to hit. And what they're doing this for is to ensure that no one's buying an Apple Watch edition, the gold one, ripping out some of the gold and then trying to return it and trying to make some money on gold on the secondary market. So they're going to do that upon people coming in to return the watch if they choose to, or if they're coming in to get a replacement. Because after all, these are pieces of technology, and just like an iPhone or an iPod or a Mac, they might need replacing from time to time or repair. So that's what the scales will be used for. And I think besides the added security factor, it really shows us that Apple's not messing around here with the gold. I mean, it's real gold. They wouldn't need safes. They wouldn't need scales if it was just something minimal or some plating. It's the real thing.
So real gold, solid gold parts, presumably, based on what you're saying. Do you have any guesses about how much the highest end Apple Watch might cost?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the models costed upwards of $5,000. They'll probably end up being somewhere between $2,500 or $2,000 to $5,000. If you look at how much gold watches cost right now, and these are not Apple watches made by Apple, these are regular watchmakers. Those are the ranges right there. I mean, if you look at the watch though, it doesn't have a gold wristband or bracelet. It's just gold around the device. Most of the front of the watch is taken up by touch screen, and the bottom of the watch on the back casing is taken up by the heart rate sensors. So, it's to be seen how much it really will cost. Apple is a company that really, really enjoys high margins, and on fashion and watches, I think they're going to take that to a whole new level. So it's to be seen how much it will cost exactly, but we know it's going to be expensive.
Almost Working in the chat room says that if you do shave off a little bit of gold, make sure you replace it with the same amount of weight of lead so that they will accept the return. Mark Gurman is at 9to5mac.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Mark Gurman. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Got some more news for you coming up, but first I want to talk about Personal Capital, one of our sponsors today. Personal Capital will help you get your financial life in order, and they do that by allowing you to bring together all of your different far-flung financial accounts all over the internet and put them into one place so you can see them all very easily on a single, easy-to-read screen. You can find and eliminate high mutual fund and 401k fees and other hidden brokerage fees that may be costing you years off your retirement. Best of all, Personal Capital is free. You can get timely alerts on your account activity, and you can have multiple ways to monitor activity in your account at any time without ever having to log into your Personal Capital dashboard. The new Transactions widget allows you to see your recent transactions in the iOS 8 Today view even. You can also subscribe to daily or weekly emails, which are very, very nice. Go to Personal Capital now and set up your free account. And for a limited time, if you qualify, Personal Capital will give you $100 for every $100,000 you deposit, up to $10,000. That's personalcapital.com/TNT. And we thank Personal Capital for their support of Tech News Today. The Raspberry Pi Foundation today released its Raspberry Pi 2 Model B. The new system is much more powerful, but still super cheap. Lester Haines is head of the Special Projects Bureau at the Register and joins us now to talk about this. How are you, Lester?
I'm a bit cold. We've turned the heating off so we can save some money to buy an Apple Gold watch with diamond encrusted or something. $5,000. $5,000? You must be mad.
Yes,
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, they are mad, in fact, no doubt about it. You just keep 10 or 12 more winters, and you may be able to actually buy one. So good luck with that.
Yeah, thank you.
Before we get into the details of the new release, can you briefly talk about what Raspberry Pi is exactly and what people use it for?
Well, basically, it's just a budget miniature computer, and you can use it for whatever you want, within reason. And that was the point up until now, of course, was that it was relatively slow, so it was limited by its speed. This new release has got a quad-core chip, as you can see up on the screen there, And that has, they reckon, improved the performance by 6 times, making it, as Eben Upton, the Raspberry Pi Foundation head said, a real PC.
Wow. And it costs not $5,000. It costs $35 or will cost $35 and is supposed to run Windows 10. Is that right? What are we learning about that?
Yeah, I don't know much about the Windows 10 bit because they kept that very secret. And yeah, they say it'll run Windows 10, which of course, as you can imagine, has infuriated the hardcore geeks, the Linux boys. So they're very upset. And of course, the solution is not to run Windows 10 on it if it upsets you that much. But that's an interesting development for sure. I mean, that's taking it towards, as they said, the real life PC.
Lester Haines is at theregister.com. I'm sorry, it's theregister.co.uk, not .com, to co.uk. And you can follow him on Twitter at REGSPB. Thank you so much for joining us, Lester.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. MIT scientists have demonstrated that it's possible to identify people based on their credit card metadata. In a new study that will be published Friday in the journal Science, the scientists analyzed credit card data made by just over 1 million people in about 10,000 stores for 3 months. The data included nothing more than the date of transactions, the name of the stores, and the amount charged, and nothing else. When they compared the data to publicly available information like social media posts, the researchers were able to personally identify 90% of the shoppers. The study calls into question the standard methods many companies, hospitals, and government agencies currently use to anonymize their records, according to the New York Times. This is crazy talk, Lindsey Turrentine. I mean, this is big data applied to publicly available information that people voluntarily post on the one hand, and on the other hand, little tiny bits of information that could be pretty easily grabbed by a hacker.
Yeah, this is nuts. What is not quite clear to me is how they made the connection. So they analyze all the data. They look at what you've posted on social media, compare it to your purchase patterns, and kind of say, okay, well, there's a person saying that they go shopping, and I presume there's a person saying I'm about to go grocery shopping, and in a separate post saying, I live in Berkeley, and then comparing that to all the purchases you made and making that connection. What is not quite clear is whether a computer is the person making that connection or whether it's one of these researchers getting all this data and then lining it up and making a call. Either way, it's crazy, and it just goes to show that right now in this moment, if you think it's kind of safe to tell the world what you're doing every single moment on social media, maybe you should think again.
I think it is clear, even though the actual report hasn't been published yet. The metadata for the report is online, but not the full report. But I think it is clear that they're using machines to crunch these numbers because the numbers are so large. They're looking at 1 million people. So I think this is definitely big data number crunching here. And they talk about how they're able to personally identify the shoppers. One of the most trivial things that could also be gleaned from this is when people are away from their homes. That is already easy to determine when you're looking carefully at social media, but you could automate this very easily. I mean, if these researchers could do it, hackers could do it, and basically automate, give me a list of all the people in this particular neighborhood who are not at home right now and who spend a lot of money on various things. I mean, it's really, if once the criminals get organized enough to use these kinds of techniques, it's big data applied to crime. And,
yeah, well, sure. And as the New York Times points out, you don't necessarily need that big of data to do this, to perform this kind of sleuthing. They pointed out and remembered that last fall, a reporter at Gawker identified Kourtney Kardashian and Ashley Simpson just by looking at their taxi ride records and the public records about taxi rides. So again, just be careful about what you tell people you're doing if you care about your data.
Yeah, don't do what I did over the weekend and tell people exactly where you are all weekend. Terrible idea. Well, Microsoft Windows Phone fans have been clamoring for a high-end smartphone from the company for a long time, and now it looks like they might be getting one. A press release issued by Qualcomm bragging about all the smartphone handset makers still planning to use its powerful Snapdragon 810 chip includes a Microsoft Lumia device. Microsoft executives promised at the company's recent Windows 10 summit last month that a flagship Windows Phone is in fact in the works. Lindsey Turrentine, this is not surprising, but it's great news for Windows phone fans because, there's absolutely no reason why Microsoft shouldn't be in there with a high-end flagship phone with a killer camera. And, of course, if it's got a processor like this in it, it's not going to be cheap. It's not going to be one of those low-end phones that they sell in India or elsewhere. So I think this is great news for people who really want, power users who want to use Windows, Microsoft, Windows 10 actually is the operating system they're going to be using in the future. Great news, I think.
Well, it's great news, and it's also great news for the curious. What is Microsoft going to do with the hardware now that it's all Microsoft? Now that Windows 10 is hopefully getting new life breathed into it, we're all so curious. What is this going to look like? We just want to see it come.
Definitely. Amazon is planning to open bookstores at 2 U.S. colleges. The special retail locations will provide students at Amherst and Purdue with all kinds of Amazonian benefits, including steep discounts, half-price Prime memberships, and one-day delivery of textbooks. These Amazon bookstores are completely replacing existing campus bookstores. Amazon is also giving the universities a piece of the action, with percentage cuts ranging from 0.5 to 2.5% of each transaction. They're going to make a lot of money. Amazon also opened a co-branded site at California's UC Davis, but will not replace the campus bookstore there and will provide lockers and 2-day delivery for any books ordered on Amazon by students. In related news, Amazon last week announced its free Kindle textbook creator, which transforms PDFs into an ebook format. This is kind of interesting, don't you think, Lindsey? I mean, basically, Amazon is opening up brick and mortar bookstores.
Yeah, I mean, talk about establishing customer loyalty. If you are the only source of textbooks, at least physically on a campus, and you get your audience at that age signing up for Prime to get fast delivery using the lockers, that is an amazing amount of loyalty from a well-to-do or probably future well-to-do audience. So good for Amazon, but really hard for any local booksellers or people who have been making their money as the middleman reselling textbooks. Amazon is just completely annihilating that entire industry. It's crazy.
They're a very long-term thinking company, and this will help them gain market share in the textbook industry, which will help them drive down prices, which will help publishers go out of business, and will help authors of textbooks make less money. That's the sort of Debbie Downer view of this. The good news is that students who are already paying hundreds of dollars for some textbooks, it's outrageously high in terms of the prices students pay, because they essentially, it's a weird kind of monopoly because the professor requires you to buy it. And so there's not like there's a free market for these things. The professors are in charge of determining what you have to buy. And then, they're going to lock it up. And they do the same thing with children's programming. And we talked about all this original content that everybody's producing. Well, Amazon's half their original content is for children. Why? For the same reason. They want to get, brand loyalty as early as humanly possible. In this case, they're actually getting Prime memberships. $50 gets you a real bona fide Prime membership. That's a great deal, and you'll save a lot of money if you're a student ordering expensive textbooks all the time, right? And then you graduate, and you because you went to Amherst, you'll get a great job, and you'll be this well-educated, well-paid person who's always had a Prime membership.
Absolutely,
it's really
and
brilliant.
As we saw from Amazon earnings last week, that those Prime memberships are a huge part of Amazon's strategy, right? Like, we can make all the jokes that we want about Amazon's sort of mixed bag of hardware projects, but it's really in that loyalty and the memberships that Amazon makes its money.
Yeah, absolutely true. Well, in just a sec, we have some follow-ups and other news for you. But first, let's talk about Prosper. Prosper started the concept of peer-to-peer lending way back in 2006. Here's how peer-to-peer lending works at Prosper. Borrowers simply choose a loan amount. So you go in there if you want to borrow money and choose the amount that you want to borrow. You specify what you're going to use the money for, and you post it as a listing. Then investors can choose your loan listing. They can choose any number that they want to invest in. And then borrowers simply make fixed monthly payments, and investors get paid back with interest. This is a really, really fantastic service. This essentially cuts out the middlemen who are involved in a regular bank loan, and it certainly saves you from all the problems associated with borrowing from family or friends. You can get up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days, and really cool feature is that you can check your low rate instantly, and that won't affect your good credit. Just go to prosper.com/twit. For a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit fans a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Just go to prosper.com/twit, and that's a special site just for the Twit Army. Up to $35,000 in just 5 days and a $50 Visa prepaid card. Just go to prosper.com/twit. The Pirate Bay came back online Saturday. The leading torrent site was shut down after being raided by Swedish police 7 weeks ago. The actual location of the Pirate Bay servers is unknown. It runs on virtual servers hosted by secret cloud storage companies around the world and therefore cannot permanently be shut down. We told you last week that a Chinese government regulator slammed retail giant Alibaba for failing to stop the sale of counterfeit goods and other transgressions. Now the agency, called the State Administration for Industry and Commerce, has met with Alibaba Executive Chairman Jack Ma, and the government has withdrawn its report. So that's a victory for Jack Ma. And in related news, another victory for Jack Ma. He is now officially richer than Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. So take that, Jeff Bezos.
Wow. Yeah. Jack Ma, talk about power. Money is power, even when it comes to the Chinese government. That's amazing.
It is amazing because, you know, a guy like Jack Ma, he's got friends in government. He's got friends in the Communist Party. So you don't want to mess with Jack Ma, apparently. I guess he made the regulator an offer he couldn't refuse. Well, in some product updates, Google Friday announced that Google Now will soon support 40 third-party apps, including Lyft, eBay, Ford, Duolingo, and Pandora. We reported this on Tech News Tonight on Friday. The new support means that data and notifications from these apps can show up on Google Now cards, including on Android Wear watches.
This is Google getting ready for Apple Watch. Yep. It wants to be ahead. It wants more partnerships. We'll see if it actually can.
And for people who have no interest in the Apple Watch and want to stick with the Google side of things, it's just great news no matter what the competition is. So, yeah, it's a great update, I think. In mergers and acquisitions, Intel has agreed to buy a German network chip maker called Lantic. The company specializes in processors for Internet of Things devices, but they also make chips for copper and fiber communication as well as for mobile broadband and Wi-Fi. The terms were not disclosed. Got some people in the news. As we reported on previous episodes, Google bought smart thermostat maker Next last year, and then Google's Nest division, I'm sorry, Nest, not Next. Steve Jobs' Next company was not for sale anytime recently. The Nest division then bought cloud webcam maker Dropcam. Now Dropcam co-founder and former CEO Greg Duffy and Nest vice president Yoki Matsuoka are both leaving Google. No surprise, this always happens whenever there's big acquisitions like this. Some of the top people tend to leave as soon as they can.
Yeah, I'm sure they're doing just fine. They've got plenty of cushion,
yes,
so to speak.
And all the thermostats they can possibly use.
Yes.
We've got some big numbers for you. 50. That's the percentage of Super Bowl commercials promoting hashtags. The percentage is actually down from last year. Last year, there were 57% of Super Bowl commercials had hashtags. Another big number, 229.6 million. That's the number of tablets shipped last year worldwide, according to IDC, and this is surprisingly up 4.4% over 2013. Everybody thinks that tablets are on the decline. They are not. They actually rose last year. Actually,
that's surprising. I'm shocked. I'm honestly shocked.
Well, they actually might be declining because the fourth quarter was actually lower than the fourth quarter of 2000. So actually during the year of 2014, there may have been a decline. So we'll see how they do in 2015. I have the feeling that they're going to be lower in 2015 than they were in 2014. Okay, one more big number for you, $1 billion. That's how many dollars Netflix plans to raise in order to fund new initiatives, including new content acquisitions. In other words, original content that will be played, on Netflix. And so that's a lot of money for them to raise. We'll see if that pays off for them.
Content is expensive to make. Video content is expensive. That just goes to show that that's how they're going to keep subscribers.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have that model. So it's going to be basically impossible to watch everything unless you subscribe to everything. Well, in news you can lose, the makers of the video game Madden NFL 2015 used the game to run a simulation of the Super Bowl before the game, several days before. And the outcome of the simulation was exactly the same as the real game. The Patriots beat the Seahawks 28-24 in both the Madden simulation and in real life. Also, Madden's simulation had Patriots receiver Julian Edelman catching the game-deciding touchdown pass and Patriots quarterback Tom Brady winning MVP, just like in the real game. The Madden simulation even predicted Brady's total passing yards to within 7 yards and predicted Edelman's total yards running with the ball to within 3 yards. Lindsey Turrentine, this is absolutely incredible.
I have an admission to make. I don't watch football, and I didn't watch the game. But what this says to me is like we are really just bags of biology that are actually computers, and I don't know. It's scary. It scares me. We're so predictable.
They didn't predict the big brawl at the end of the game, though, so I'm a little disappointed in you, Madden football. So anyway, it's incredible. We'll see if they can do it. They didn't do so well last year, but this year they really knocked it out of the park. That was a great game, too, by the way. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Rick in Columbus, Ohio, who posted this picture on Twitter and says he commutes to work on his bike while listening to the show every single day. Very cool. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we will find it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tech News Today. Lindsey Turrentine, what's going on with you this week? What do you have planned?
We are planning. We are in planning mode. There's a lot of really big stuff coming the first week of March. So get ready.
I don't think I am ready, but I'll try to get ready for that. I'm looking forward to it. You guys run a really great operation there, so look forward to that. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on iTunes, and please leave a review and let us know how you like the show. Choose your favorite way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can also watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or on the app or browser plugin of your choice. If you're ever on the West Coast, come on in and watch us live. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV or join our Google Plus community. Just search Google Plus for Tech News Today. You can follow me personally on Google Plus. Just go to elgan.com, that's ELGAN.com, and that'll redirect to my G Plus profile. And please send us your thoughts and opinions to TNT@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. Also, don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.